Hey everybody, it's Jay, it's Eric, we are back from Gingerman, and if you went to this race, well, you had to give up Mother's Day, but you got the Northern Lights. And you also got National Public Gardening Day.
Now, alongside me, Judges Shelley and Brian had a great time celebrating National Public Gardening Day and Mother's Day in the same weekend. We figured mothers like to garden a lot, and racers like to go off the track and collect mud, so let's make them plant seeds in the mud from when they go off. We had a couple teams get in on the action too, the Project Mercure space program and their Mercure, and the Milorganite Pooh team and their PT Cruiser. Two great team names, by the way. Both had their own variations on the theme. The Mercure guys were giving out seeds. The Milorganite guys made a whole garden in the back of their PT Cruiser. Those are both hella sweet.
Also hella sweet, you cannot have a race at Gingerman without a song from Mary Sealhorst.
It will not carry us to victory glorious. Can we please get back on the bus? God save our spleen.
Of note, we had not one, not two, not three, but four Mercure XR Ford TIs, also known as the Sucks to Suck in Lemons. That's probably a record. Everybody wins when four Mercures show up to a Lemons race.
Everybody wins.
Among those Mercures was Tiaras and Tires, and this was one of the totally stock Mercures run by a Lemons rally legend. Scott Leiter has rallied such fine off-road performance machines as the Chevrolet Laguna S3. Now, Scott decided he still wasn't really broke and divorced enough from having just run Lemons rallies, so he decided to run a bone stock-ass Mercure in a Lemons race, and, well, we're going to report back how that worked out on the home front. In fact, there's a lot of Lemons rally people coming to run races, and sorry, guys.
You can't have a Lemons race without good themes as well, and we had plenty of those. We will start with Luckett Racing, who did a Dolly Parton theme with liquid Dolly oil that works 9 to 5. That was awesome. They were dressed as Dolly all weekend in an otherwise kind of boring Honda Civic, but the hood on it was hand-painted by the team's girlfriend. That was hella sweet.
Another hella sweet theme here for the beer brought back their Mini Cooper and their All Dads theme, even though it was Mother's Day. They painted their race car green to match the lawn tractor pit ride that they have, and they just kept up fatherly advice all weekend long.
Not just a good theme, but a great, terrible car, and a familiar one was the Fat Bastard Racing MG Metro. Now, this car's got a bit of history. It used to be Lemons legend Mike Harrell's daily driver in Seattle for years. Then he raced it with Spank at the Ridge, and later Spank raced it a bunch more times. Last time we saw it was in the low-speed Spankson, totally not O.J. Simpson low-speed chase at Buttonwillow, like in 2016. Now, somehow it made its way east, and these guys from Louisville ended up with the car. They did an Irish car bomb theme. They had St. Patrick casting snakes out of the paddock, and it was all great until the engine spun a rod bearing Saturday evening. So they left early to get a head start back to Kentucky, but we're always excited to see an MG Metro in Lemons.
Equally hella sweet, Jersey Mike and the boys and their Impreza Legacy. I mean, whatever the hell this thing is, it's a Subaru. Now, the League of Legitimate Nigerian Businessmen, they're on sort of a kick to do meta themes about other Lemons themes lately. Why not? At Pitt, it was Three Pedal Mafia. Here, it was Dirty Mike and the Boys, or as they rewrote it, Jersey Mike and the Boys. The league organized up their own little potluck activity, what with all Jersey Mike stuff. Now, it turns out the closest store was an hour away, so they didn't really think that through. And then they brought cake pops with baked beans, which is apparently a real special.
Erroneous!
Also great, the rookies of Shifty Racing and their Saab 9000. As kind of the classic, didn't quite have time to finish the well-thought-out theme, but he convinced his kids to dress up as skunks to go along with the skunk stripe on the car. Pretty sure they're going to go full skunk by the next race.
Now, this time out, a couple of rookie teams brought some exceedingly high-performance cars, and we know how that usually turns out. Let's start with Bagley Motorsports and their vaguely C3 Corvette. Now they said, oh yeah, the totally slow original motor, that blew up just a few days before the race. Wah. We had no choice but to put our completely built Hot Rod 5.3 LS motor in this car. Nothing else we could do. Yeah, well, first that got them a whole bunch of penalty laps, and second, it didn't work at all. Cooling system was completely non-functional. Car cooked itself over and over and over again. This is what cheating gets you, people.
Kind of cut out of the same cloth was the Subaru WRX of Precision Racing LLC. Not a good team name, by the way. Now, these guys dug an absolutely roached Subaru WRX out of a trailer park, finished a respectable 42nd place.
Now, on Friday, we told both the WRX and the Corvette that their target was Wisconsin Crap Racing. Former race winners, but they were not driving their BMW, they were driving their CVT transmission Suzuki Kazachi bone stock piece of crap sedan. We said, if you can beat those guys, what we didn't tell them is that this car had run 3 races flawlessly and always finishes pretty damn well. Well, of course, they were like, this is a travesty. We will dominate. Did they dominate? They got creamed by the Kazachi.
You love to see it. Always worth a mention is Wally's aged cheddar heads in their Triumph TR7, which is powered, as you do in racing, with a 1982 Buick Riviera 231 V6.
No shit.
Now, they'd struggled to make this thing work in the past, but it was running pretty good laps until they drove the wheels off of it. The wheel bounced most of the way toward the front straight and came up just short of, clobbering somebody zooming up the front straight. So that was kind of nice of them, but maybe they can keep the wheels on it and keep it running next time.
Hella Sweet Crossstud Racing brought their Volvo. We always love it when they don't bring their V8 Camaro and they bring their ugly green Volvo instead. And honestly, watching them, I think they love it a lot more too. Beating the crap out of this slow car, they had a blast.
Also, totally hella sweet, our man Dale has been doing lemons for 15 years, and he finally brought his wife Dana to see what he does at a lemons race. It was great spending time with Dana, and we hope she comes to another race and isn't too scared for the next one.
All right, we had 3 class winners that are all kind of worth talking about, so let's get to that next. Starting off with Class C, we had the Rover SD1 that finished 8th overall. Now, how do you finish 8th overall in a Rover SD1? Well, you get hot tuning tips from John Smith, who I think was the guy in Pocahontas.
That is offensive.
No, I'm sorry. Actually, it was the SD1 racer from the 1980s who totally dominated the class. And if you're saying, boy, that sounds a lot like cheating to me, let me just let you in on a little bit of a loophole here. If you bring a British Leyland sedan from the early 80s, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want.
Whatever I want?
Hey Jay, there's like Subaru Stage 4 tuning. What are those like for a Rover?
They're like, Stage 1 is, wow, it's a Buick engine, isn't it?
Stage 2. Maybe change the oil every 3rd race.
And then Stage 3 is, I do believe we need transmission fluid in this transmission. It doesn't have any now.
Stage 4 is, alright. Class B winner was Product Design in their Saturn SL2, which it turns out is the 2nd most raced GM car ever. It's done 36 races, finished 4th overall. That was incredible.
But even more incredible was the overall and Class A winner, Save the Top Top. This is a Cadillac Seville rebodied Chevrolet Camaro automatic. Phil, years and years ago, said, you guys got to stop bringing that car. It's really cheating. If you want to bring it back, you need to rebody it as a Cadillac. And they went, okay. Now, this car has won several times. They're really good drivers. It has also raced 54 times. Far and away the most raced General Motors platform ever in lemons. And these guys are awesome. They were super racy when they started, and they straightened their attitude out, and we love these guys.
The Here for the Beer guys give out a traveling trophy, and they kind of determine what it's for. And this weekend, they wanted to give it to somebody for Mother's Day. The HP Tuners guys brought 2 completely built to the hilt GM F-bodies, and they broke immediately and spent most of the weekend on jack stands. However, the team captain had prepared a car with his wife, which was this Subaru that had raced previously in lemons, and it beat the ever-loving crap out of both of those super cheaty F-bodies. They also had a great mantra of "it's garbage can, not garbage can't," and for good measure, they beat the hell out of the team who sold them the Subaru in the first place, and they were the highest finishing Subaru. That's a pretty good Mother's Day for the team captain.
The heroic fix went to GT50, and welcome to Lemons, new captain. Glad you got a little bit of help on this one. Car was originally built for the Grocery Getter Classic, which is like 150 cars on a quarter-mile oval. It's like a 24-hour race. Frankly, it sounds better than Lemons. I don't know why we're not all doing the Grocery Getter Classic. Well, this car survived enough that they were able to finish that race, put a cage in it, and come race with us. Now, the car is a Ford Probe, so of course the engine blew up. They went out and they found another Probe motor someplace that had been on the street, had like 300,000 miles on it, figured out how to convert it and get it into this particular Probe, got the car running, took the checkered flag.
I Got Screwed went to Blue Steel in their Ford Mustang. Now, this requires a little bit of preface. We had not one, but two Zoolander themes at this race, and they were both very well done. The Blue Steel Mustang guys, who had just run at CMP, were one of those teams, and again, great Zoolander theme. They got I Got Screwed because they had sold the Subaru to the team that had beaten the crap out of them. That was half of it. It turns out the other half was that they couldn't turn left or right very well, and they picked up a bunch of black flags. We gave them the organic Coinstar penalty, which is where you have to roll a bucket of change, and the team were a bunch of young kids who probably have never seen change in their entire life, let alone knew how to roll it, so rolling $65 in coins took them over an hour. They got screwed by not having seen coins.
The special trophy went to Dumpster Fire Racing, which is not to be confused with Dumpster Fire Motorsports, because of course we had two of those, and we also had two Triumphs. These guys had the superior Triumph racing car, which is to say a Ford Ranger swapped Spitfire aka GT6. Even with the engine upgrade, this car is butt-ass slow, and the team, reasonably, they're a little bit afraid of it, so they were not setting any records. But they did okay, and in the words of Derek Zoolander, and the words of the special trophy, there's more to life than being really, really ridiculously good at driving.
Judge's choice went to Buckle Up Buckaroo and their Chevy Cobalt, which it turns out is Lemon's first official Chevy Cobalt SS.
Yes!
Now, as you well know as car people, the turbo and supercharged versions were the fastest front-wheel drive cars available at the time.
Yes!
And this one absolutely ran away with the race.
Yes! Well!
Here's a little known and little publicized fact about the Cobalt SS. Now, GM sold a non-turbo and non-supercharged version of the Cobalt SS that just had a Malibu engine in it. That was it. It was probably the lamest performance car of all time, and these guys found one. And when I say these guys, I mean two dudes from Ontario who asked a dealership friend if he had anything he couldn't get rid of on the used car lot for $500 Canadian, which I'm pretty sure is like $90, and the dealer gladly sold them this chunk of for them to cage and race in Lemons. They had a great attitude, they were having a great time, the car was not fast at all, but they made the local newspaper when they went home as an award-winning race team. That is great. Well done, Canadians.
Organizer choice went to Skunkworks. Now, these guys have been racing a crusty-ass old Opel GT in Lemons for like 10 years. They put a Camaro 3.4 in that thing, and it's made it faster and considerably harder to drive, but you know what? That just wasn't enough for them. So they decided to take up Judge Phil on one of his old challenges, which was essentially, you know, if you put an Audi 4.2 V8 into that car, you'll have like 300 horsepower and 0 penalty laps, and you'll dominate. It's a great idea. Now, you or me, hearing something like that, we would know I was... These guys, not so much. So not only did they do it, but they did it mid-engine. Suddenly, this sounds like a pretty good idea even to me. I mean, essentially, this is a Lemons Audi R8. What's not to love? Now, naturally, on a car like this, which clearly is going to do like Mach 3, you got to do an SR71 theme, because the car itself just, it's clearly not wackadoodle enough to stand on its own. That's what they did. Now, the team captain was pretty smart. He said, we're just going to back off a little bit. He put a throttle stop under the engine so you could only get like 60% throttle, put a rev limiter on it at 4,500, and that actually worked. All Lemons teams should do that, by the way. The car survived. It looks spectacular. I guess they're just going to keep dialing it up until it stops surviving. This is the way to do lemons.
Halloween Meets Gasoline went to Disg Racing and their Ford Taurus SHO. This is a car we saw last year with bagpipes that play themselves on the car. That is incredible in and of itself. They took everything just a notch up. They built a castle in their paddock. They registered the Team Tartan with Scotland or whatever that process is. And they bought a plot of land in Scotland to become honorary nobles. Yeah, the car blew up. It's a Taurus SHO. It's kind of what they do. But we saw them all weekend in the kilts and the outfits. That was hella sweet. And this is how you do it.
And that takes us to the top prize, the Index of Affluency, which went to Sparrow Thrust and their green Studebaker. Yes, I said Studebaker, and that's because this team was from the Studebaker Museum. And in a race full of awesome cars, I mean, you gotta try really hard to be the awesomest. That pretty much does it. The museum folks, they found this Studebaker Lark in a garage, and they knew it was special because it had a tachometer in it. And that's the most Studebaker thing I've ever heard in my life. It had a tachometer because it was essentially a Studebaker Lark drag racing special. Doubly awesome, which meant it had originally come with the same supercharged V8 as the Avanti R2. Why you ruined classic? They claimed, and this could very well be true, that the seller wouldn't let them just take the tack. They had to take the entire car. So now the Studebaker Museum guys, they have a whole car and they don't know what to do with it. True story. Mary Sealhurst says to him, I got just the thing for you. You need a Lemons Racing. And in the kind of corporate planning and intelligence that made Studebaker the multinational combine powerhouse that it is today, they said, okay.
Unfortunately, the Avanti motor was long gone. They found it without an engine, so what do? Well, you dig around in the not quite museum quality pile, and you come out with a 232.6 cubic inch, don't forget the 0.6, flathead engine out of a 1952 Commander. Turns out it fits. They adapted it for a T5 for whatever reason. Doesn't really matter. They had a flathead motor in a 63 Lark. That's awesome. They did all of their driver changes in the paddock at a pretty leisurely pace, occasionally stopping to, eat a sandwich or loan their giant bag of spark plug wires to a Miata team who had a bad plug wire, and it fit. That's amazing. All in all, they beat a bunch of teams and crucially kept intact Studebaker's perfect Index of Affluency record. Serves as your periodic reminder, orphaned American brands, great way to win an IOE. Get yourself a Packard, a Kaiser, a Fraser, a DeSoto, and get yourself an IOE.
Here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?